my friend. You were live.
And we are live. Welcome. Glad you could join us. This is Big Bad, and my name is Crispy. And we're just going to be talking a little bit about something that caught our attention. And that is, we're going to look at some of our favorite books and what they say a role-playing game is. And we're going to criticize that.
Don't you mean advanced board games, my friend?
Yeah, let's start with yours, because yours is especially egregious when we look at what the definition of a role play is. So a role-playing game. So go for it, Big Bad. Tell us tell us where you're at and what is the resource that you're looking at. And
according to the wizard himself, the mighty Palladium wizard Kevin Simbita of Palladium Books, in Rifts in the Fantasy Edition, role-playing games are really just an advanced form of regular board games. There you have it, folks.
There you have it.
Wrap up the show. We're done. Okay. We're finished.
We're finished. All of your obsession about dimensional role-playing, whether it's 4D, 2D, it doesn't matter. All of this it's just an advanced form of board game. So you're playing a board game. You heard it there from Kevin himself. So are we okay with that? Or is that there it is, the Ultimate Edition, same one that I have. And it says very clearly,
not so ultimate, okay?
Not such an ultimate
don't buy this
description.
Book. Don't do it.
Okay? So this is what we're talking about. And well, tell me your initial reaction when you read something like that, where it says, really, this is just an advanced board game. Like,
buy this one. It irritates me because it's not a board game. If I wanted to play,
it's not really a board game, though, is it? Like it's because you can an advanced board game that really doesn't share a lot in common with board games.
Plus, I mean, here's the reality. Even in board games like Monopoly, I still role play. I always role play the Slumlord. I buy Baltic and I buy Mediterranean. The little purple or brown properties when you pass go.
Yeah.
The Slumlord. I'm like, you're gonna owe me all that money. I'm gonna kick your ass out of here.
Like in about an hour or so, I'm going to go over to a friend's house and we're going to play some board games. Okay, they're not role playing games.
No,
there's just nothing. So I struggle with that definition. Okay, so here's one that's a more modern definition. Let me share you this one. This is from. Or do you have more to say on that?
Just one more.
Keep reading. Okay, here we go.
It does say you need to use your imagination, so I'm not gonna fault them too much, right?
Okay, so we've got an imagination component there. Which is good. I'm glad that he put that in.
But it says the same thing in this book. It just says you need your imagination and some friends. But if you don't have friends, just keep bugging people long enough, and they'll be your friends. I thought
if you had that book, that means you don't have friends.
I mean, that's why it says if you bug people long enough in this book, they'll be your friends and they'll play D&D with you every day.
That's right. Now, can you read that section? Could you read it to me? Like, can you read that for me again? Because I own the book, and therefore I have no friends. But I have that book, and I haven't read that particular passage before. So
let me find it.
Ladies and gentlemen, all two of you beautiful people in our live chat, please listen to this and weigh in on what you think of this.
I'll just read the most pressing matter.
Okay, here we go.
If you don't have friends interested in playing, don't worry. There's a special alchemy that takes place around a D&D table that nothing else can match. Play the game with someone enough, and the two of you are likely to end up friends. It's a cool side effect of the game.
It's a cool side effect. This special alchemy where, okay, so first you have to start off, you don't know each other, you don't like each other, but if we just do this together long enough, then by golly, we'll be friends. That's what's going to happen. That's the special alchemy.
This is the Big Bad D&D channel now. We're going to be best friends. I'm going to hit you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Over and over again.
So
what? Love me.
So according to the Player's Handbook of 5th edition, a role-playing game is special alchemy to make friends.
Yes, exactly. It is witchcraft. The Satanic Panic was right. This is a book to win friends and influence people.
Yeah, I guess it is. It is.
Wow.
This is the 7 habits of winning friends and getting,
It's too much. What do you got for us? What
All right, so I got a beautiful one here for you. This one here is my beloved Savage Worlds. I've been a super fan for a long time.
Love those. But
I can't. The whole thing. It's just such a great, board game, advanced board game.
Of course.
But I'm looking for a role playing game. This is what it has to say. I was reading through this. I think, okay, there's a lot here that I would agree with, but there's one piece of advice here that I just have a lot of trouble with, and it's towards the end. Let me tell me what you think about this, Big Bad.
Let's hear it.
If you're new to the whole thing, this is role playing games. If you're new to the whole thing, we recommend watching some actual play videos on the internet to get a feel for it. Now, please tell me, would you know what a role-playing game is from watching actual play videos? Like, what are they talking about with actual play videos? Do you think that they're talking about Critical Role?
Are they
like there's no link, there's no hyperlink. No, there's nothing.
I mean, here's the thing. Savage World actual plays are like especially bad.
Yes, they are. I know they are. Yeah. So it's funny that to me that the definition of role-playing games from here is like, well, just watch them and then you'll get the hang of it. You'll get the feel for it. But I don't think that's an adequate definition. I don't think now here's some of the other things that they call them here. They say it's a role-playing game is one in which a group of players take on the roles of various characters and attempt to complete quests, tell a story, or overcome obstacles set before them by a game master or GM. The GM might create all this straight from her imagination, or she might use one of the published settings and adventures created by Pinnacle. That's not self-serving at all. Of course. Or by other creators who have licensed the rules for their own worlds. Okay. Now, what are you okay with that? That's good. This is a good definition. We can agree on that.
I kind of like gaming. I kind of like quests. I like overcoming obstacles. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I don't have a big problem with that. Like with the overcoming obstacles,
that's not a role playing game though. That's just like the game part of it. Where's the role?
That's the game part of the role playing game. Yeah, that's right. So I mean, stepping into the roles of various characters. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Does it tell you how to do that though?
No, it does not tell you how to do that. Well, here's how it tells you how to do that.
Okay.
So, now everyone pay close attention to this. This is the meat and potatoes. It says most of the time, the players and game master simply narrate their various actions in the voices of their characters or those of the world around them. Now, I'm not quite sure about that last bit, but certainly that makes sense to me. Like you just narrating the actions in the voices of the character. Now, the only issue I have potentially with that is that what are they talking about in the voice of the character? Is that referring to like do I have to have a?
I think I know what you're going for. I like doing voices, but I think I know what you're going for. You shouldn't have to do the voice of, right? Because that's like kind of like acting, I guess. Maybe in the tone of your character,
right,
or like how your character would go about saying that thing,
Yeah. So like I think if I were to wordsmith this a little differently, I would say perhaps they simply narrate the various actions in the perspective or from the point of view of the characters. You're not necessarily, or you can speak as the character. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes they roll dice tied to the character's abilities to determine the outcome. This book describes that process.
Just like if you're a thief and there's a battle coming in, you don't want to just be like, oh, let's go kill a guy. Let's go do that. You're a thief. You want to be, oh yeah, sure, we can. I'll sneak around and I'll go get the guy from the side. You go up front though, because you're the warrior. You wouldn't want to be like, yeah, let's go kill a guy. I got a dagger. I can do sneaky stuff. You kind of want to be in the character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you got to get into the character, and that's what I think these few descriptions, and there's others, and there's some that I couldn't even find a description of for what the role playing game is. So this is a role playing game. Okay, what is that? It doesn't actually say that. It doesn't ever describe what that is. It just says this is a role playing game.
Yeah, it doesn't say that. It just says imagine the character.
One of the things that I think is important to look at is that it's and I think it's especially those that are new to the hobby. What is it that you're really trying to do here? Are you just trying to what's the underlying foundational thing? Okay, so as a role-playing game, is it absolutely the same? Like it's not exactly the same as a board game. It has board game elements according to Kevin. It's just advanced because it uses more of an imagination metric. There's something else to it though. is what I suspect. What do you, and that's something else is it has there's a difference between what your character's goals are and what you as the player's goal should be.
Yeah, of course. I agree with that.
So your player's goal, like this is like, why do people play these games? Do they just play them so
I
that
don't know.
my
That's
little
a good question.
do they play them
Why do
so that we can just see our guy get stronger? Is it like, is that the motivation?
Okay, good question. I actually play. I give my character a goal in the game, and once he accomplishes that, I won't play a character anymore because he has accomplished his goal in the game.
Okay. Well, that's interesting then. So
I made a juicer in Rifts who was on last call, which means he's going to die in the game, and like he would die in like 6 sessions or something. And I told RPG's dumb that my character is going to have a goal of trying to become a dragon juicer so he can live forever. And he's like, that's your prerogative. You can do that. You just got to will it as your character, because you're a living person in that world. And I think
that, yeah, I think that's the key component, at least for me, is when I'm going to describe what a role-playing game is, it's that effort. It's a collective effort. All of us trying to make something that's fictional, that's imagined, that's make-believe, feel real. Yeah. We want it to feel like it's real. We want to feel like that juicer makes sense. That he has. It's not just the math part of it, the system part of it. There's more to it than that. There's his goals. His goals as something that we're going to pretend. All of us are going to suspend our disbelief, and we're going to pretend that that such a thing as a juicer exists in this world. And what does that mean? And then your goal as a player is to portray that such that all the rest of us can imagine it as if it's real. And then it becomes something that we can share in that pretend, that make believe. That's, in my opinion, that's the attraction of the role-playing game. It's the shared pretending that this thief, he's actually a thief. Like there's such a thing as thieves that just go around plundering dungeons that for some reason exist in the world.
You got to make your make-believe seem believable. You got to make it real.
It sounds a little crazy, but this is something that, and the other thing, I think this is why it has such an attraction, is that this is something that we have done we've done this before. We have in our, as little kids, you would have done this in the sandbox when you're playing with the cars in the sandbox. You ever do that? You have the GI Joes or whatever, and you have the sandbox and little fire trucks, and you're making up scenarios as you pretend that this is an actual fire truck or this is an actual race car, and that's the essence of what play is for little kids. It's this exercise in imagination and pretend. Unfortunately, as we age, a lot of us we drop that imagination component, it becomes a little atrophied, and we have a hard time with that pretend. And so I think this is why when RPGs work well, when role-playing games working well, it feels like, this feels familiar to me. It feels like this is something I can do.
It's like you're getting that muscle back, man. A little brain that you lost.
That's right. It's like getting some of that back. So it's interesting to read these books that say and it's hard to define because there's lots of different types of role-playing games, aren't there?
Even this chapter doesn't tell you how to role play. It just says just like an actor assuming a role for a movie, you play a fictitious character in the game. It is your imaginary character who's standing at the bottom of the staircase, eyes squinted, trying to peer into the darkness. Blah blah blah. But it doesn't tell you actually.
So how do you do that? That's a good question. So you're going to do that, but what does that look like? How do you do that?
Exactly. You got to describe it. It doesn't tell you oh, by the way, you should describe these things when you're playing the game. Otherwise, you're just doing the talkie thing for hours on end.
Yeah, and is that what characters would do in the world? Is that an accurate portrayal of what you're imagining, or is that something else?
Okay, so think of most actual plays. If they're at the bottom of the staircase, they'll just make you'll just roll a dice. They won't even make you do anything. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can't see nothing because you're at the bottom of a staircase and it's dark, and you have to roll to see anything. And it's like you didn't role play any of that. You just made them roll the dice, and that's it.
And it's not. And obviously, there's going to be dice rolling. Like you have to have some mechanic, some way resolving the action, but it's still that's why I was shocked when I read that. What's a role-playing game? Well, just go online, and on the internet you can see some actual plays.
Hey, we'll just watch some actual plays. Watch them roll
Well,
some
which
dice.
actual play do you think they'd be directed to? If they just searched for an actual play, would it just be
The
Critical
worst-
Role? I mean, that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, isn't
I mean, here's the thing. Critical Role's all right. Matt Mercer role plays for most of the cast members, though.
But
you ever watch them?
He does. And so you ask yourself, well, if I'm just getting into this, then as a player, like if I was trying to take Matt's role, then I guess you could just try to copy everything he's doing.
Yeah.
But what about the players? Like, how are they, or do they know how to role play after watching something like that?
Probably not. I mean, it's fun to watch, but it's not. I don't think it's teaching a lot of people a lot of things. They don't understand they don't understand what they're looking at. They're just seeing. Well, they're seeing voice actors. That's number one problem. You see the voice actors like, oh, I can do this, and no, you can't. They've been trained for years.
Do you think it? Like, I don't have a strong feeling on it either way. But do you think that it's scripted? Do you think that they're like there's
Critical Role scripted?
Yeah.
I mean, probably.
I remember once. Can I tell you a quick story? Can I?
Yeah,
I'll keep it really quick.
Go ahead.
I was once approached by the local gaming store to stand in and run a game for some players that their game master was out of town for a while, and so they really wanted to keep playing, and so the store owner approached me and because he knew that I really enjoy role playing games, and so he said, "Could you come in and play this or run this game for this group?" And so I said, sure, it's good practice for me. I wouldn't mind doing it. I walk in, and the first thing they said to me is, like, well, have you seen Critical Role? And I say, yeah, I've seen it.
Of course I have.
Don't follow it. I'm not up to date on the season or what have you. I've seen it, so I know what you're talking about. And they're like, well, that's what we want. And I remember coming away from that thinking, but do you know, okay, when you say that's what you want, could you, other than just
you have 5 voice actors on a standby. Ready to go?
So
excellent.
So
let's go. Get the
are you going to
cameras
be? What are you going to do? Like, you're expecting me to do all the heavy lifting here? What is it that you mean?
You probably could, honestly, but
it was they afterwards they're like, oh, we really like how this game is going. We'd like to keep going. We'd like to have you. We've talked about it, and we wanted you to be our regular guy. And I was like, no, I'm out of here. I don't want to do this anymore.
Where's my Matt Mercer paycheck? Then I'll
yeah.
consider
I'm like, it's not.
Where's my $9 million a year, buddy?
It wasn't. For me, at least, it was people that didn't really understand what it was they were trying to do.
I say, Critical Role is cool, but it's basically people just sitting around playing the game and not role playing.
That's right. But even then, I'm like, okay, so you're just playing the game, but are you really playing the game?
Yeah.
Is this? That's what I'm not clear on that, and I don't watch it enough to know either way.
I'll tell you what, we'll watch, because here's the thing: season 1 was pretty good, and then season 2, season 3 felt really scripted because the players, like, it just seemed like they're never going to let them die if they don't want them to die. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's always
so then it is this storytelling thing, and this is a bit of an issue I have with the definition of role playing games being it's just shared storytelling, because if it's just all about the story, well, then why are you using?
Yeah, see, that sucks.
Like, if it's just about the story, then of course you'd be really upset if the wrong person dies. I mean, you can't have that. That ruins the story. Think of the story.
That's the difference between a good storyteller and a bad storyteller. Though, like, my games always have a little story in them, but it's like if you change it, that's on you're supposed to change it. Like.
Well, your game should have an obstacle, right? It's about overcoming the obstacle.
Obstacle.
But this idea that it's just a story. Well, that's where you get into this advice about, well, you should fudge things if the dice don't go your way, then fudge it because it'd be better for the story. Pay attention to the story.
Okay. I guess
that's why I'm not real keen on story as a definition for the.
Yeah, I have NPCs that have goals that they're trying to reach, and you're kind of trying to either help them or prevent them or stop them. Like, that's
just not as keen
win,
on that.
You lose, who knows?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think so. They probably have a story in mind, so they try to, like, finagle it so it goes a certain way, you know.
Mhm.
You know, I get you.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I feel like we end up talking past one another a lot when we talk about role-playing games, because we're not even quite sure what it is that we're talking about in terms
Yeah.
of what is a role-playing game. On the one hand, you have it's board game, it's just an advanced board game with added imagination. So board game plus imagination equals role-playing game. Okay.
Advanced board game.
Advanced board game. That's printed. That's one. You
It's
have
gonna be the
another one
title
where
of the
it's like,
video.
well, just watch other people doing it and you'll get the feel for it.
I can figure it
That's
out.
another. I think that we could probably do better with other. Well, let's take a look and see. I think we had a couple comments here. We should probably hit them up.
Oh yeah.
Primeval Fantasy. Thanks for dropping by. 8 Mobius 8. Thanks for being here. Doodle Squatch. I don't know if we've seen you here before. Thanks for coming by.
What up, everybody?
Thank you for coming by. Oh, you got Doodle Squatch here with a comment. Let's just talk about this comment here. We'll put it up on the screen. So he says, I wouldn't mind playing a tabletop role-playing game with board game elements, cards, tokens, etc. Okay, so let me just speak a little bit to that, because I play this on a weekly basis.
Savage Worlds does that.
Savage Worlds does that, and I feel that it does it well, but it's a constant struggle for me because I'm all about the in character. I want people in character all the time, and the issue is some of the board game elements. They're doable in person, but as soon as you try to run a game like this online, you immediately run into some issues that pull you out of the in-character experience. The bennies,
I feel like there's a struggle to like understand what is a role playing game. Like what exactly is a role playing game? Because everybody says they're playing a role playing game.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, everyone does.
Like,
everyone's and
like what is it?
They're all convinced that they are. So I mean, they have their reasons. Certainly, they have the reason. For me, just to contextualize this for anyone who's gotten this far, and it probably be my closing statement, but for me, the essence of a role-playing game is the effort to pretend that this character you have is a real character in a real world. And that's where you're really into that role. And that for me is different, much, much different than any other activity. When you're really embodied that. Now I'm not suggesting that you have to LARP it or you have to come up with a silly voice or something like that. Not at all. I don't do the voices. I don't do costumes. I very seldom do any kind of prop whatsoever. But I still think that there's something incredible about a role-playing game where you can really take a step outside of yourself, imagine a character that's completely different from you, and then imagine that character is real. And then you speak as if you're that character in the game setting. You describe where that character is in the world, and everyone at the table gets that opportunity to imagine that together, this shared kind of make-believe world. And then the story that comes from that is just what happens when obstacles are presented in front of those characters that we're going to all just agree for the next 3 hours or hour and a half or whatever it is. We're just going to agree that this is real, and we're going to pretend that, and we're going to step into those roles, and the story will be whatever happened when those characters encountered the obstacles that they had. So the characters will have their own internal goals. Like that character might be obsessed with power or wealth or fame or what have you. That's not my goal. My goal is just to embody that or portray that character as best as I can, as if they're real, different from me.
Right? Can't say any better, man. I mean, role playing is you're playing a real person in a real world in a fantasy setting or a sci-fi setting, whatever setting that you have. It's just pretending, like you said, that your character is a real character and he has his own goals and his own motivations and he's trying to make them happen. That's role playing.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Boom, done. We solved the problem. Next week we're gonna solve.
We're gonna send some edits, some letters to the editor of some of these books, and say, hey, you know what? You may want to consider a rewrite on this for the next edition.
Yeah, you might want to learn how to, teach people how to role play instead of just,
That's all right. Well, thanks for everyone that dropped by and those that'll listen to this on the recording, and we'll try to do more of these in the future. And who knows, we may even get smart enough to announce them in advance, which is I hear probably a good idea.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure
it out.
Just like this role playing thing, we'll figure it out.
Right. Role player die, baby.
You got it.